I think my mom kept sending me job postings until it was like we were at like 1 million in revenue. I'm like, Mom, I got 30, maybe not 30 employees. I got 12 employees, 15 employees. Like, I don't need a job. And my old boss, for the first 5 years, every time he like bought a new truck for his new salesperson or had a particularly large commission check, he'd take a picture, he'd cover up the name, take a picture and send it to me. He'd be like, yours would be bigger. And 5 years of him like taunting me to come back to work for him. And one day I took a shot of our P&L and sent it back to him. I was like, sorry, Steve. So
Yeah, it works. If it like it, I think the stat for startups is like 1 out of every 10. You probably know this, but it's like 1 out of every 10 startups like succeeds or continues past 5 years.
mhm. Yeah, I'd be
It-
surprised if it was that high, but
yeah,
yeah.
no, I think if you're in a pre-accelerator, you're going through an accelerator. I think it's much higher because you have the
Mhm.
support. But yeah, I'm sorry that I'm sorry you still got job postings after you were like well into your startup. That's really funny.
It is. I found it really funny.
Yeah.
So you did some pre-validation, you went to conferences, you got into a pre-accelerator, you did the 50 interviews.
Mhm.
Where and when did your first customer hit? Who paid you first?
So yeah, social media was really good for us. We got our first few customers on Instagram. I didn't even, so it wasn't even through an advertisement. So I would just start creating like sizzle reels, basically. So like getting people interested in looking at our stuff. I would
Mhm.
go to like relevant profiles of people who I think could like using EarthaPro. So I'd follow them, like their content and stuff. Not too much, but just like a little bit, and started gaining a little bit of a following. And then I'd reach out to them later and I'd say, hey, I think this could work for you. I would be happy to give you a demo and get you on a free trial. And here's what we got. And I got some good feedback through that. But that's where we got the first few. And then I've also been using Apollo to sequence emails. That hasn't worked as well, especially in the beginning where it's not like you can't outsource that stuff. In the beginning, it's all about meeting people in person. So we started going to some trade shows and we're getting really good traction and really good leads there.
Hmm. I think one of the hardest things to figure out for like new founders to figure out, and even myself, I've made this mistake as well. I was working on a side project targeting the property management space, and I was trying to hit them up with LinkedIn. I'm like, they don't use LinkedIn at all.
Yeah.
Like, my wife is a property manager and she barely uses, I don't think she's updated it. She definitely doesn't post on it. And so I spent a month running campaigns. I'm like, oh, we're getting nothing. I'm like, but they don't use it. And one of the hardest
Mhm.
things to learn, because you got to do it manually, is like, where does your audience hang out? What channels do they use?
Yeah.
And conferences, it sounds like Instagram in your case. I don't imagine there's a huge like Twitter mafia of landscaping
No.
companies.